Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Apopka High School welcomes you once again to Joe Sterling Gymnasium for game number 5 of the 10th annual Metro versus Florida Challenge, the event that pits the reputation of the Orlando Metro Conference and its 20 public high schools against some of the best talent in the greater Central Florida area. Today we welcome as our guests, wearing the black jerseys, visitors on the scoreboard from Seminole High School. They are the Seminoles. And wearing the white jerseys, home on the scoreboard, representing the Orlando Metro Conference, please welcome the Lake Nona Lions. Let's meet the teams. We'll begin with our guests from Seminole, and we'll start at guard with 6'1" senior number 14, Amarie Perkins. At guard, 5'11" senior number 40, Anthony Cofield. At forward, 6'6" senior, number 42, Sean Shakat. At small forward, 6'4" senior, number 44, Eric Wynn. And finally, for the Seminoles, at power forward, 6' senior, number 11, Ladarron Cleveland. And the head coach of the Seminoles in his 6th year, Sylvester Wynn. And now let's meet the starting lineup for the Lake Nona Lions. Starting at guard with 5'8" senior number 2, Cameron Hall. At guard and forward, 6'5" senior number 3, Austin Allison. At guard and forward, 6'4" senior number 4, Jaylen JJ Harper. At shooting guard, 6'2" junior number 5, Bryce Johnson. And finally for the Lions, at forward, 6'4" sophomore number 25, Sebastian Urbina. The head coach of the Lions in his 5th year at Lake Nona, Antonio Cunningham. The officials for today's game are from the Central Florida Officials Association here in Orlando. We remind you, for those of you in the arena, that we are live streaming today's game. So if you have friends and family back in Lake Nona, back in Seminole, or anywhere else in the world, make sure you send them a message and let them know they can tune in live at metrovsfl.com, or just go straight to our YouTube channel, search for Metro versus Florida Challenge on your favorite mobile device, computer, or smart TV. And good afternoon once again. A special welcome to those of you joining us online on YouTube. My name is Mark Barchi. I am the media director for the Metro versus Florida Challenge. I am joined, as always, by Neil Fisher of the Apopka Chief, and we are ready, finally, for game number 5.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. We roll on. Of course, had to wait a little bit extra. Great game before this between Lake Brantley and Edgewater. Went into double overtime before Edgewater finally emerged. As we get started today, get that first shot taken by Seminole.
Held ball, possession Lions.
So Seminole is representing the Florida contingency, and they come in loaded. They are a team to keep an eye out for, to put it simply.
Too much time on the inbound. Seminoles ball.
So over the last 5 years, the Seminoles have won over 100 games. They have three-peated over the last 3 years as the Seminole Athletic Conference champions. They are the defending district champions at 7A2, 2018-2019. You have O'Shea Baker, point guard, Sentinel, all-area third team, all SAC first team.
Basket by Ladarron Cleveland on the jumper to open up scoring for this game.
And he is paired or trioed, 3 of them, in addition to O'Shea Baker, with numerous honors, Demari Henderson and Jakari Henderson.
Ten seconds in the backcourt, Seminoles ball. Seminoles turning up the heat early here.
Yeah, 2 turnovers.
Ladarron Cleveland with another jumper for the Seminoles.
2 field goal attempts, 2 field goals made for Seminoles.
Full court pressure continuing to come on.
Along
Boy,
with
the
2
Lions are
turnovers.
really, the Lions for the first time today actually make it all the way into the front court. Air ball.
Now, Lake Nona, basically, they come off a season which was really a tale of 2 seasons. Of course, for those of you who don't follow Wekiva High School, Mark and I are the house broadcasters, so we are very familiar with Wekiva. The reason I mention that is because their pass crossed with Lake Nona in the first round of the FHSA.
And there, Perkins for 3, the pass from Wynn.
Wekiva's pass crossed with Lake Nona's in the first round of the FHSAA postseason tournament last season. So we got a first-hand look. They were under 500 for the first half. I believe they had not even won 10 games. They wound up going 14-17. I believe they won 8 of their last 10 games. That's Lake Nona. But most importantly, they swept through their district championship tournament and got into the postseason tournament as the champion. They met Wekiva in the first round and then eventually lost in the second round.
Allison gets the rebound here, goes coast to coast, and he drops it in. Austin Allison on the jumper, and the Lions are on the board.
So Lake Nona returns Jaylen Harper, Bruce Johnson, and they add Andre Cooper. They also add Cameron Hall, who's an all-Metro first team, along with Austin Allison. So they have 5 seniors and 6 juniors, so a very experienced and, like I said, deep team. They also have postseason tournament experience. And now you're seeing them kind of get back into finding their footing. Well, I thought they were. So fast pace to this game really induced here by Seminole. They're going man-to-man full court here. 5 turnovers already for Lake Nona.
Sean Shalcott spins for 2.
Seminole making 5 of their first 7 field goal attempts.
Yeah, and clearly Seminole running the Lions ragged here in the opening 5 or 3 minutes of this ball game, putting on the full court pressure and making the Lions work real hard for everything they get. Here we're going to get an offensive screening, I think.
Another turnover. 6 turnover for Lake Nona.
Offensive foul is called against Demari Conleaf. That's his first.
So Lake Nona is only 5 years old. And their coach, as you mentioned, Antonio Cunningham, has been their only coach.
Ladarron Cleveland for 3, and we'll take a Lions timeout, 30-second timeout requested by Lake Nona. So yeah, definitely Coach Cunningham not liking what he's seeing so far, and he's going to see if they can't figure out how to stop the bleeding before it gets any worse. We'll be right back.
Yeah, catch your breath. And so we come back. Lake Nona breaks the press this time, and that's their trademark flow
Austin
of the ball.
Allison for 3.
Trademark flow of the ball. This is Seminole's first appearance in the Metro versus Florida. Lake Nona has appeared all 4 times that they've been in existence. So again, Seminole man-to-man.
Jaylen Harper picks up 2. Good jump shot motion there.
Couple of possessions now, Lake Nona's been able to get the ball up court, get a good look, and score.
Push is called against Cameron Hall. That's his first, the team's second.
And Lake Nona going man-to-man, obviously not nearly as intense. as far as the distance as Seminoles.
A.J. Cofield down the baseline for 2.
Technically flawless execution there of that shot. Got in the air, hung forward, and used the backboard. Leaned into the basket, shouldered up.
Hold is called against number 44, Eric Wynn. That's his first. Jaylen Harper on a dunk, the inbound by Cameron Hall. And not to in any way shortchange the smoothness of Lake Nona's play there, but the Seminoles kind of left that door open.
Yeah, there was a big gap in that paint.
And Lake Nona saw it immediately and took advantage of it. Ladarron Cleveland and 1. Foul is called against number 2, Cameron Hall. That's his second. The team's third, checking into the game for the Lions. Number 1, Zach Chenal.
Well, that slam dunk didn't seem to make any difference to the Seminoles. They came back and really their opportunity for three-point play, not just to score. That's the first free throw attempt from either team tonight. And for the first time in this game, we're seeing the Seminoles not hounding Lake Nona as soon as that ball's inbounded.
Good look by Harper, not there.
White 25.
Sebastian Amina is called on the hole. It's his first.
And now Lake Nona's taking a page out of Seminoles' book, extending the man-to-man to full court. Pays off, got a turnover there.
No, actually, that was actually a blocked shot.
Oh, that was a block.
Bryce Johnson on a long pass from Seminole. And so just like that, Lake Nona has woken up and has taken it to a 5-point ball game. So Ladarron Cleveland adds a jumper for the Seminoles. So while they, here's a turnover. Anthony Cofield gets the steal. He's fouled on the attempt to go to the line and shoot 2. The foul is called against Lions. Number 1, Zach Chenal. That's his first personal foul, and the team's 5th.
So just that quickly, Mark, as you mentioned, Lake Nona had started to make some inroads into the deficit. That lead can now become 9 again. And of course, now it won't since he missed the first free throw.
So as you say, Neil, some points left on the table there.
Yeah, just for the record, I use that phrase, but I'm not the one who came up with it.
Certainly not.
Minute and a half left as Seminole goes back to the tray.
Ladarron Cleveland, 4-3.
And the biggest lead of the night, biggest lead of the game. And
Allison is not able to answer for the Lions.
Yeah, I think Allison kind of lost his poise there. That looked like a shot he normally wouldn't take.
Amarie Perkins, 3 is not there. Putback won't fall either, but another offensive rebound. Go back to the outside, and it's Cofield on the pass to Cleveland, who drains another 3 for the Seminoles.
13-point lead. Those points were spurred by offensive rebounding. And there's an example of why coaches talk about offensive rebounding.
Yeah, and Cleveland has just been lethal from long distance so far tonight. Here, Zach Chenal is fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot 2 for Nona. The foul is called against Seminoles. Number 14, Amarie Perkins. That's his first personal foul, and the team's second.
And so Seminole has almost doubled Lake Nona's field goal attempts alone.
32 and 24 also checked in. They doing it right off the bench.
17-8. So they've more than doubled. 17-9. So almost a 2-to-1 advantage in field goal attempts by Seminole. And again, you don't need to be a basketball guru to understand the more field goal attempts you take, the more likely you are to score points.
Dante Drummond picks up his first points of the night for Seminole. Allison's three bounces out.
And neither of these teams like to get that last shot. They don't worry about the clock here.
Anthony Cofield steals two.
Delay of game warning on Seminole.
Delay of game warning called against the Seminoles.
So now Seminole has exactly doubled Lake Nona's field goal attempts, 20-10.
And that takes us to the end of the first period, and the Seminoles have a fiery start to this game number 5. 28-12 is the score at the end of the opening 8 minutes. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Joe Sterling Gymnasium for the second quarter. Mark Bochy and Neil Fisher here with you.
20-12 lead, excuse me, a 28-12 lead, now 30-12 opened up here by Seminole.
Perkins to win.
So again,
nice alley-oop there to open up the quarter.
Yeah, all cylinders are firing for Seminole, obviously, with that score. But really, turnovers has fired those cylinders working properly. 7 turnovers by Lake Nona, only 2 to Seminole. And you can tell that Seminole is a team that likes to up-pace, up-tempo, pressure style. So I am always impressed when a team can turn another team over using this style, but they don't turn the ball over themselves.
Sebastian Urbina gets the basket and a chance to make it a three-point play. The foul was called against number 42, Sean Chakat, his first and the team's third.
So 12 of 20 from the field by Seminole. That includes 8 of 14 from beyond the arc. Excuse me, 4 of 6 beyond the arc. But overall, 12 of 20, that's 60%. You're going to win probably 19 out of every 20 games when you shoot that much. 5 of 11 for Lake Nona, so a respectable amount. But again, they're almost doubled in field goal attempts by Seminole.
Bryce Johnson is fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. The block is called against Jaden Waiters, his first.
And as I've mentioned numerous times in the last couple of minutes, and I know it might get repetitive and annoying, but it is basically the underlying theme of this lead. When you shoot more field goal attempts, you're more likely to score more points. So again, at the end of the first quarter, 11 for Lake Nona and 20 for Seminole. Rebounds are pretty much even, 8-7 in favor of Seminole, and only 3 free throws attempted, all 3 by Seminoles with none made. So Seminoles actually could even have a bigger lead now too. It isn't a super amount, but still 3 points were left on the table. Yeah, both teams are man-to-man on defense.
Jaylen Harper with a fourth chance basket for the Lions.
And that's just some under the basket hard work there.
Hold on, have a seat. Black offensive.
No basket. Offensive foul is called against number 40, Anthony Cofield, his first, team's fifth. Charge taken by Harper.
So now that we're in the second quarter here, Mark, and I don't know if you say things are settled down in comparison to the style teams usually play, but at least for this game, a slight settling down, and the fact that Seminole isn't running up and down the court nonstop. This is the Metro versus Florida Challenge. And what this is based on about a handful or so of events used at the college level. The ACC versus Big Ten Challenge was the first chronologically. And Mark, I don't understand that shot, especially when you're down by 14.
Wait for a better opportunity than that. We're not that close to the end of the period.
Oh, you just played right into the hands of Seminole. They play this style because they're trying to force the opponent to make mistakes, mental mistakes.
White 4.
Block is called against number 4, Jaylen Harper. That's his first personal foul, the team's sixth. Ladarron Cleveland is fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot two. The foul is called once again against Jaylen Harper. That's now his second and the team's seventh.
So basically the idea of the Metro versus Florida Challenge is you get a representative from the Metro Conference for each game, and you get a representative for the Florida contingency for each game. And at the end of the day, you add up which side is one more. Now, the Metro Conference consists of all the public high schools in the Orange County area. So if you're not in the Metro Conference, you're then part of the Florida contingency. We've had a number of teams from Seminole, and actually all the schools in Seminole are in the Seminole Athletic Conference. As I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, Seminole has won 3 straight Seminole Athletic Conference championships.
Austin Allison for 3 on the pass from Cameron Hall.
So we've also seen a number of teams from just outside Central Florida to the west, Polk County, Lake County. There's also quite a few private schools here too. They of course play in the lower numbered classifications, but almost all of them are considered come into each and every season with expectations of advancing deep into the FHSAA postseason tournament.
Harper's layup bounces out there. We'll go to the corner. Oh my.
Drain the rain, Mark. So again, excellent ball
Cleveland
movement.
to Cofield.
Excellent ball movement continues for Seminole, opening up that three-pointer, and then more bad decisions on the part of Lake Nona. That wasn't just a pass that went out of bounds. That was a poorly thrown pass and really no opportunity to complete it, given that there were multiple Seminole defenders around the Lake Nona player.
And so Urbina will come out for that, not entirely surprisingly, and Kenneth Lewis is in for him.
And I also forgot to mention, Seminole has scored, just come off to an unbelievable start here, but the man, I guess you could say first and foremost, or first among equals, Ladarron Cleveland has scored 18 points.
Yeah, you feel pretty good if you get to the end of the ball game and have 18, much less being halfway through the second quarter. Nice move there. That's Amarie Perkins right down the paint for 2.
So this certainly is an offense that revolves around Cleveland. Not to say that he's selfish or a ball hog by any means, but he certainly looks like the man who has the skill set to put up the points.
Full timeout is requested by the Lions. And we'll take it with him. We'll be right back here at Joe Sterling Gymnasium with the rest of the second quarter here in Game 5 of the 10th Annual Metro versus Florida Challenge. Welcome back to Joe Sterling Gymnasium. Just under 4 minutes to go here in the second quarter. Lions need to regroup here and figure out a better strategy because right now they don't have a lot of answers to the Seminoles' questions.
Yeah, they've been able to string together three consecutive possessions where they looked good, moved the ball, got an open look, and scored. But they really have not been able to answer Seminoles, I guess, say, firepower.
Harper tries for a jumper, nothing there.
So
scramble for the rebound.
The Seminole had a 28-7 or 28-12 lead after the first quarter. It's 8-7 here in the second, so pretty much even. But they have not, like Nona hasn't been able to make inroads to that first quarter. Again, Seminole was shooting 60%, 12 of 20 at the end of the first quarter. Lake Nona shooting 5 of 11, 44%.
Harper to Allison for 3.
So Lake Nona shooting a respectable 44%, but they're giving up 16 more percentage points to Seminole.
Knock it down, Jay. White 5.
Foul is called against number 5, Bryce Johnson. His first, the team's 8th. And that will put the Seminoles into bonus. At the line, shooting 1-1 for Seminole will be number 23, Jaden Waiters.
So Jaden Waiters yet to score. This will actually also be his first free throw attempt.
You saw there when we moved the shot over to the baseline, one of the unique challenges of doing games in the middle of the afternoon is the sun streams in at unusual angles into Joe Sterling Gymnasium here. Foul is called against Seminoles number 44, Eric Wynn, his second.
So Mark, we mentioned this a couple of times. I want to bring it up though again. Some big changes the FHSAA made during the offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of these games count. We're going to get a foul first here, then we'll go into more of that. Foul is called against number 5, Bryce Johnson. That's his second personal foul. And the team's 9th, Anthony Cofield shooting.
The 12th turnover here for Lake Nona. They had 7 at the end of the first quarter, so that hasn't changed. Getting back to the changes, of course, to start with, pretty much all the other changes grow out of this one. No more are there 9 classifications. FHSAA reduced the number of classes from 9 to 7, which logistically means that the districts have to get bigger. Pretty much you've seen 4 and 5 team districts the last 6 or 7 years since 9 classifications came into play.
Yeah, and one of the consequences of that, we always used to say in these broadcasts, well, none of these games at the Metro versus Florida Challenge are district games. We never set them up as district games because you're typically going to see those games elsewhere during the season anyway. And one of Scott Williams' objectives when he sets up these matchups is not to repeat something that you would have already seen during the regular season. And so therefore they're not district games and they don't really count. They're just good experience builders. Well, that's not true anymore. These games absolutely do count. and they will factor into that Max Preps formula at the end of the season that determines your seeding in the district tournament as well as the seeding into the regional tournament for those wild cards and champions. Here we're going to get Bryce Johnson drawing a foul. He'll go to the line and shoot two. The foul called against Seminoles, number 11, Ladarron Cleveland. That's his first personal foul and the team's 7th. Checking into the game first for the Seminoles, number 32. Never mind, we'll get to that next time.
Yeah, Mark, and again, where you're going with this to pick it up from that is the most tangible, and really the reason teams play a regular season is in order to qualify for the postseason. The FHSAA postseason tournament, or if you prefer the FHSAA playoffs. That's been changed because the classifications have been reduced, and with that reduction of classifications, so has the system or format. There are 4 regions across the state of Florida. There are 4 districts in each of those 4 regions. The 4 district champions still receive an automatic berth into the postseason tournament.
3-point basket scored by Anthony Cofield. We'll go very quickly to the other end in transition. Can't get the layup to go. The rebound goes to Cleveland. And to your point, Neil, it used to be required in order to qualify, you must play everyone in your district either once or twice, depending on what the teams agreed to in the preseason meeting. That is no longer the case because now there's a lot more potential traveling involved because the districts are larger, and they're not just larger in terms of number of teams, they're larger geographically as well. Foul called against number 4, Jaylen Harper. That's
And now, of course, that makes finishing first or second, or you advance to the final of the district champion tournament more difficult. For all those reasons we just listed, not only do you have more teams in the district that you have to defeat to get to the final, but you also have to consider the travel. And of course, that brings up a whole bunch of intangible and pretty much how a game unfolds. So the bottom line is those first and second place teams, the district champion still advances to the postseason tournament. The second place, or runner-up, no longer does. The 4 district champions get 1 through 4 seeds, and then the 4 other berths, or 5 through 8, is determined by it's a wild card system, and it's determined by a point system overseen by MaxPreps.com.
right, and the interesting thing about that is that these games, many of them are high-value games. A lot of the teams participating in this tournament, including Seminole, are teams that are expected to do well this season, and we're going to pause for a basket. Amarie Perkins for 3 on the pass from Ladarron Cleveland. But what I had started to say there was that we're going to get a minor attack on the score table.
Air raid.
What I had started to say was that while the Max Preps formula is proprietary, it is largely understood as we get Burnjos gets the basket for the Seminoles. It is largely understood to be similar to the football RPI system, that your own win-loss record combined with the win-loss records of your opponents and your opponents' opponents are the main factors that go into that. A lot of the teams that are in this Metro versus Florida Challenge event are likely to finish the season with very strong win-loss records. So these are valuable games, even though there's a lot of unanswered questions. We don't know what those points are going to be worth at this point in the season.
Yeah, and that comes down to one underlying factor of the 3 records, which play a role in the formula, is the strength of schedule as well.
And that takes us to the end of the first half. It's been a good half for the Seminoles. 48-23 is the score at the end of 16 minutes as we head into the locker rooms. We'll be back shortly with the second half here from Joe Sterling Gymnasium.
half, but when they do get it, you can see they're very proficient and efficient.
3-point basket scored by Cameron Hall. Anthony Cofield scores 2.
Cofield now with 16 points. Leading scorer is Ladarron Cleveland. He actually had 16. He now has 18. He had 16 about halfway through the second quarter. And again, talked about how devastating Seminole was playing the style. It started with man-to-man defense. But Ladarron was the man who always, it was clearly set up to get the ball into Cleveland's hand and allow him, put him in positions where he could score.
Jaylen Harper's basket is good. He'll go to the line and shoot for the 3-point play. The foul is called against Sean Chacot. That's his second, the team's second. I don't think everybody understood that that was only one shot.
Well, regardless, Seminole did in 2 passes.
Ladarron Cleveland, 4-3.
2 passes and they got an open shot. So now Seminole's actually playing a 2-3 zone here. They've given up.
Cameron Hall for 3, the pass by Jaylen Harper.
Lake Nona continues to play man-to-man though.
Ladarron Cleveland for 3. Well, sometimes you just have to do it yourself.
Absolutely.
So he's up to 24 points now so far for the Seminoles.
I think that shot also says just how proficient, efficient, as well as skilled the Seminoles are.
Bryce Johnson, 4-3 from Austin Allison. Well, so much for inside play from either team. You can get it on the perimeter, then I guess why bother? Here we go again. It's good. Anthony Cofield from Perkins.
So I guess Seminole now wants to send the message that they're just as lethal and as threatening from the outside as the inside. They spent the first half of this period going inside for the most part. The last several possessions, I'd say the last handful or so, they've just been launching the tray.
Bryce Johnson, 3 more. The pass by Cameron Hall.
Of course, if you're Lake Nona, you're asking where was his shooting performance in the first half.
That was too cute by half. Cameron Hall to Bryce Johnson, another 3. Ladarron Cleveland adds 2 for the Seminoles.
So last 30 seconds here of the third quarter, a 22-point lead for Seminole.
Foul called against number 44, Eric Wynn. That's his 3rd personal foul. The team's 3rd. And we will clear the bench for the Seminoles.
Again, the Seminoles have switched to a 2-3 zone.
Yet another three for Bryce Johnson.
So Johnson now with 18 points, so got 10 rebounds.
Bryce Johnson again.
Make that 21 points.
So Bryce Johnson now has doubled with 24 points and 10 rebounds. Those 24 points for Bryce Johnson, 21 of them have come from behind the arc. He is 7 of 8 from long distance range. Meanwhile, on the Seminoles side, Ladarron Cleveland leads with 26 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. Anthony Cofield with 19 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and Amarie Perkins rounds out the double figures with 11 points, 1 rebound, and 2 assists. And that takes us to the end of the fourth quarter. 68-52, the Seminoles holding on to a lead, but the Lions not ready to go quietly into the night either. It is a 16-point ball game as we head into the final 8 minutes of Game 5 here at the 10th Annual Metro versus Florida Challenge. We're going to stay live here in the arena just so I don't forget to bring it back to the arena and leave you on a graphic for the first half of a quarter. Not that we would ever do that. The Lions have the opening possession of the fourth period.
So as we start the fourth quarter, Seminole has not taken any drop in the field goal percentage. They're still shooting 59%, 26 of 44. Yeah, Lake Nona actually improved. They're back up to about where they started, 45%, 19 of 42. And again, I'm sure a lot of that went up because of Bryce Johnson's performance there at the end of the third quarter.
Jaylen Harper picks up 2 for the Lions. That was an eventful opening minute of the quarter.
Yes, up and down. But still, my point is Lake Nona is shooting 45%, a very respectable solid, and they're still trailing 15%. Again, Seminole has shot 60% for the entire game. Also, Lake Nona only turned the ball over once in the third quarter. They turned it over 7 in the first quarter, which allowed a number of Seminole points transition.
Lions try to get something done in transition, not working. Cleveland to Perkins to Cleveland for 2. Well, that looked cool.
And now Seminole's gone back to the man-to-man. They played about 4 minutes of 2-3 zone, and that was actually the same spot where Lake Nona started cut into that lead and Bryce Johnson started hitting the trays.
Austin Allison is fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. The foul is called against number 23, Jaden Waiters. That's his second.
full timeout. 5:33 remaining in the
Full timeout requested by Lake Nona. Full timeout. And we'll be right back. Foul is called against number 25, Sebastian Urbina. That's his second. Basket good by Crawford. He'll shoot for the three-point play. And he gets it.
So now 6 of 11 at the line for Seminole. And Ladarron Cleveland is now over 30 points, 31 for the game. 4 rebounds, Anthony Cofield, 22 and 4.
Jaylen Harper for 2. So certainly the Lions have not been smoked. They're not going to walk away from this embarrassed, but they definitely are going to get some good lessons to work on, courtesy of the Seminoles.
Well, consider this. Lake Nona has 58 points. They're probably going to get to 70, and they're going to still probably lose by about 20. So just to give you an idea of how good this Seminole team is. And again, this is not a team that overpowers team in the physical sense. They're not a grinding team. They don't look to initiate contact or run opponents over. They overwhelm opponents with speed and incredible shooting percentage.
Three-point basket scored by Amarie Perkins.
As you just saw there, they can shoot and score from anywhere on the court, and they use that as a starting point for their attack.
And here the Seminoles are slow it down a little bit now that they have 81 points.
So I wonder, Mark, I know, of course, in the first ever Metro versus Florida Challenge, Mount Verde played Winter Park, and I know that Mount Verde scored over 100. I believe Dr. Winter Park scored in the 90s in that game.
Yeah, it was 102 to 92.
Okay.
I remember that game well.
Yeah, I believe that's the highest, the 2 highest point totals for a single team.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I don't think we're going to get there today, but we're going to get close.
Well, I don't know about 102, but I certainly think we could see 92. So
Held ball, possession Seminoles.
So again, like I said, you're looking at 58 points here by Lake Nona, and they're still struggling to keep the lead under 25.
Amarie Perkins on the pass to Jaden Waiters. Now they're just showing off.
23.
Jaylen Harper. Jaylen Harper gets the basket and a chance to make it a three-point play. The foul is called against Jaden Waiters, his third.
So, again, this is the Metro versus Florida Challenge, 10th annual one. We're at Apopka High School, Joe R. Sterling Gymnasium. Of course, Sterling was the coach of the 1962 state champions. This gym was built and opened up, I believe, 7 years ago. It was named after Coach Sterling. And what the Metro versus Florida Challenge is 23 games this year, 3 days. Today, Friday, and Saturday. Every game pits one Metro Conference team against one Florida contingency team. And then at the end of the 23 games, we add up who won the most games. The Metro Conference consists of all the public high schools in Orange County.
Perkins to Shelcott, 4-2.
And so therefore, all of the schools that are not part of the Metro Conference are considered part of the Florida contingency. Obviously, Seminole is in Seminole County, so they're part of the Florida contingency.
Yep, and the non-Metro teams come from a variety of places. Some of them are private schools in Orange County.
We've talked
and
about
then we've
them.
also had Seminole, Lake, Polk, Osceola make up most of the rest of them. Sean Chacot gets two more under the basket. And we actually have a couple from Volusia and Indian River. We have Mainland from Daytona Beach.
Yes.
And we have Vero Beach High School from Indian River County. Those are the two farthest schools visiting us this weekend. And a pass all the way down the court to Anthony Cofield to pick up two more for the Seminoles.
30-second timeout, Seminole.
We'll pause here for a 30-second timeout. Called by Seminole. So to your point, Neil, we may get pretty close here. Looks like we might cross that 92 mark. This is going to go into one of those Hall of Fame games. We put anything that scores higher than 75 points into the Metro versus Florida Challenge Hall of Fame. And this seems, well, this has already met that criterion, and it may go down as one of the top games of all time as far as offensive production by the Seminoles.
Well, if you look at both teams, again, you know, Lake Nona's put up 61 points. That's higher than, I think, half the teams today. But total, we got 150 points. So I would think not only individual team, but I think combined, this could be a top 10 game.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, even though this is not necessarily a close game or a photo finish, this is also not in any way a mark of shame upon Lake Nona. They have performed well today, and against most other teams, this would be more than enough to cut the mustard.
Yeah, 45% from the field, probably a little bit higher. That was after the third quarter, that 45. And turnovers, they got off to a rough start, turning it over 7 times in the first quarter. They actually are now at 14, so that's a very respectable number. Both those numbers are respectable, not only the score, but the specific statistics.
Foul called against number 32, Bryce Harrison. His first personal foul. The line shooting is Austin Allison.
So speaking to your point, Mark, give you a little love back here. Orlando Christian Prep will be playing in our next game, one of the small private schools, Class 2A District 11. Of course, they've won multiple state championships, and they've been probably, I believe, over a dozen times to the final in like the last 24 years.
Bryce Johnson adds 2 for Lake Nona.
So here we go, Mark. See if we can get the number 2 on the individual scoring, individual team. Oh, I don't think they're going to do it now. They had their opportunity.
Well, they are going to get one more look.
And Mainland actually plays.
Dante Drummond pounds the brakes and picks up 2. So there you go, Neil. This is the number 2 scoring game of all time at the Metro versus Florida Challenge. They just broke Winter Park. Well, Winter Park scored 92 and lost.
Right.
But then again, that was Montverde. There's no shame in that.
So I believe that this not only is the number 2 mark for an individual team, but I do believe a combination, combining the 2 teams.
Harrison is foul, or causes a foul. It's his second at the line shooting. Will be Jaylen Harper.
157 points combined.
And that takes us to the end of the ball game, and this is officially the second highest scoring game of all time in the 10 years of the Metro versus Florida Challenge. We had Montverde versus Winter Park several years ago that was 102 to 92. This one will come in second place at 93 to 64. The Seminoles come up with the victory in a big way, and a great performance by Lake Nona as well. And that's a great way to end our 5th game of the 10th annual Metro versus Florida Challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for coming out to support your Seminoles and Lions. Don't go anywhere. We are ready to move forward with Game 6, which is scheduled for 5:30 p.m. This is the 2-hour gap that we have when we schedule Games 5 at 3:30 and Game 6 at 5:30. This was our catch-up just in case one of the games went into double overtime. Not that that would be likely to happen, except that it did. And so this is our catch-up to make sure that we don't get behind. So we're going to take a little bit longer break than usual. 25 minutes to go until we start the Jones Tigers taking on the Orlando Christian Prep Warriors. That's coming up next here in Game 6 of the Metro versus Florida Challenge. A reminder to those of you who watch the live stream that you will need to exit out of this and get into the next performance in order to continue with us here at Joe Sterling Gymnasium, and we hope that you will do just that.